I actually have, it's called T-Vision. I have T-Mobile TV service. It's premium. It's very, very good.
Mhm.
You know, and you know, and so this is something new that we got into. You see, you know, and we are competing with the Cox and the you know, and Time Warner and all of these other cable companies. You see, and then you know, also over the last few years, you know, the wearables. These are IoT products, basically your watches, basically. You know,
Mhm.
Nest home security systems. You know, that's an
Mhm.
you know Internet of Things product. You know, has T-Mobile service with it. It operates, you know, from that point of view. So, and you know, and other products, for example, for your car, where if you don't have like an advanced diagnostic system, there's a sync up drive you can purchase from our stores, and you just plug it into a specific connector in your car, and it gives you input about your car. So as these products were rolled out, you know,
Uh-huh.
um, you know, my role was specific to driving sales within my district and then within my market. So my district, and when I say my market, you know, helping drive the results at a greater level than just the area that I'm responsible for. And what that involved is, you know, training on the product. What that involved is, you know, you know, strategizing and doing the analysis as to how we are selling, you know, conversion or the reverse of conversion. That's where that kind of ties in. You see, how we're
Mhm.
selling, you know, the behaviors and the tactics that need to be observed on a daily basis, and then what needs to get reported up on a daily basis, and then just doing a lot
Mhm.
of follow up based on that. And then even before that, actually, every time a new product came in, I'd sit my team down in a brainstorming session. We would spend 4 hours out of a 8 hour full day meeting. Okay, here's a new product. Let's map it out. What are the things that we're going to do? So collectively leading everybody and getting inputs from them. So at the end of the day, okay, we've done this meeting. This is our vision, and this is what we're going after accomplishing, and this is where we need daily diligence and daily participation. So just really driving that daily diligence, follow up, participation, and making sure that the teams are educated. If there's any issues with the product, making sure that the team is timely providing me feedback and I'm appropriately bubbling up that feedback, you see. So all of those things. So, but not at a national scale. That will be, or a bigger scale, that will be limited to just my district or my area, which would be a combination of, call it 6 or 7 districts.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so Shahzad, so anything else from this particular role of yours as a district manager that you think we haven't discussed so far?
No, I think we've discussed everything in detail.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've discussed everything in detail. You know, and
Yeah.
come to think of it, so I did respond to this question to you via email, but I think it's better explained if I mention it, you
Mm-hmm.
know, in conversation. So as you can see, extensive experience as
Yeah.
a, you know, call it senior leader, you know, a senior manager, a district
Mm-hmm.
manager. I keep saying senior manager only because as a manager of managers, you see, um,
Yeah.
extensive experience, you know, and so I know that my resume has to be based on that, and has to, and the jobs that I'm targeting based on that are at that district manager, senior manager level.
Yeah.
The director roles, you know, they're going to be role specific. Like one of the job descriptions that I sent to you, director of sales insights and analytics,
Yeah.
that's based on something that's my passion, just strategy and analytics and just looking at the data differently. And, you know, so, you know, for example, if you were to pick me up and put me, you know, make me a director in a similar organization as mine, you know, it would be, that might be a tough task for me. You see, a tough
Mm-hmm.
job for me. District manager, I would rock it, you know, beyond anybody's,
Yeah.
you know, imagination. But in the same kind of a job progression, the next level up being director might be a little bit
Mm-hmm.
tough for me. But if the director role is a role where it involves the skill set which I am really good at and I'm very
Mm-hmm.
passionate about, like the analytics and the insights and the strategic thinking sort of mindset, you see, you know, the change and innovation, like those specific roles, I think I will be an excellent contender for those director positions. You see,
Okay.
so that's
Yeah.
where I mentioned, you know, you know, I know my resume is going to be a senior manager resume, but I wanted to have that flair, that appeal to where as I apply selectively to these director positions, most of the positions that I'll apply to will be at the same level as I'm at currently. But
Mhm.
selectively as I apply to, if a role seems to be the right fit, the resume to speak for that, but that will be role specific.
Yeah, and
I hope
so
that
one
makes sense.
thing I wanted to say, like when I saw the job postings that you shared with us, so I actually thought that I think there should be two resume iterations. One focused solely towards the managerial aspects that you have had throughout your experiences, and the other one targeting the analytics side of things, so that when you are applying specifically for an analytics sort of position, your resume is tailored accordingly.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
that I would suggest only when like the job posting you shared with us regarding they need you to have or to be responsible for predictive analytics or business intelligence. So I recommend having that version only when you think that there is extensive stuff to share about analytics.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I see. Okay. Well, yeah. I'm actually looking forward to the resume that you're going to create. Um,
Sure. Hmm.
Now, of course, you're gonna. I mean, we've talked a lot about my analytical side, so I'm sure analytics is going to come through in the resume. I'm positive
Yeah,
of that.
yeah, definitely.
But your point is valid. So let me look through that and just think about the fact if I want to make these investments and make a second version of the resume specific to that as well. Um,
Sure.
but at this point, yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to the one that you're going to create with you know,
Okay. Yeah.
as a sales leader, you see, as a sales leader, as a sales
Hmm.
senior manager,
Hmm.
and even in operational senior manager. I mean, because my job involves a lot of operations. Um, you know,
Exactly.
uh, so so basically, I know it's going to be that of a senior manager, but I believe if the as you. I think you're going to do a fantastic job in highlighting the analytical side of things as well, strategic side of things as well.
Definitely. Hmm.
And I think that's the oomph that I'm looking for. And then, if needed, then I can go into getting a second version as well.
Yeah, I agree with it. Like you just see the first version that we create for you, and you'll get an insight into what we can produce. And then if you think that there is a need for a second one, then we can coordinate with that as well.
Yeah. Oh, sure. Absolutely.
Okay, great, great. Okay, and then you were the retail store manager at T-Mobile, and so yeah, so how was that role different, and what did that entail?
Well, so store manager role was being a store manager, a location, I
Yeah,
just have one location, so that entailed, and mind you, I've left that much briefer than the district manager because I just wanted to highlight the district manager. That's a more relevant, current, recent 8-year experience, you see. So the store
hmm,
manager was just responsible for everything that I explained, responsible for that
yeah,
at the store level, growth at the
okay,
store level. I only have
mhm,
one team. I don't have any managers. Well, I mean, I'm assistant manager, yes, but I multiple assistant managers, but I'm just a store manager. So I'm responsible for my team's people leadership and development. My team, the performance and growth metrics, revenue metrics, customer experience metrics, operation metrics. I'm just responsible for one um, location.
yeah,
And so that's what that entailed. As a district manager, I was responsible for multiple, but that was just one location basically. So I mean, it just I mean, I was that much more granular with all those things because I had the same team and the same location that I was reporting to every day. Albeit over the years, it was 9 different store locations. I didn't want separate because the resume would be too long. But that's
yeah,
involved, hitting and exceeding, and really excelling in staff development at the store level and delivering in the operations, growth, revenue, customer experience results at the store level. And then, of course,
hmm,
strategizing with my store manager peers at that time. Hey, I see you're struggling in this. Let me help you. This is what I did. This is how I approach it. How can I help you kind of, and help drive the overall district performance as well.
okay, that's perfect. And so so how many people were there on your team in this experience?
When I was a retail store manager,
Yeah,
well, I mean, at my first store, I was store manager for call it, almost 9 years, or seven
yeah.
years or 8 years or something. At my
Mhm.
first location, I had 6 or 7 people. But at my
Okay.
last location, before I got promoted to being a district manager, I had a group of 25
Okay, great.
because my development had gone up. So I got busier and more complex locations every single time. Increased
Hmm.
in staff count, increased in assistant management count, and so on and so forth. I mean, I think the last store that I was at, it was either 25 or 27, close to 30 people.
That's amazing. And so, since in your current role, you are delegating, hiring, and everything to your managers. So, as a retail store manager yourself, that must be your responsibility to hire new staff, etc.
Yep, 100%. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that was my responsibility at the district manager level as well. But
Mm-hmm.
I only did once after the first couple of interviews were done. That's where I get involved as a district manager, you see. But as a
Yeah.
store manager, I'm involved literally from the first step.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's great. And so, when you said that you led 9 different locations, so were these across the US or in some specific
Southern
territory?
California, Southern California. So
Okay.
it would be in between, in between, call it, the greater LA area and then the Orange County areas.
Okay. And so, which are some of the metrics that you had to look into on a daily basis to ensure the store operations were, they were working perfectly and, there were no hurdles?
Um, the metrics were based on the, these were simpler times. Okay,
Yeah.
so it should be simpler. These were the metrics were based on how many subscriber additions we were doing on a
Uh-huh.
monthly, weekly, daily basis. That's what was targeted. So that would be related to growth. Um, the metrics were associated with you know um, uh, in terms of revenue, what were the accessory sales? Because that was a target we looked at it daily. What were the feature attachment rates that we were attaching at on a daily basis? That was looked at a daily basis. What rate plans we were bringing people on? That was looked at a daily basis. So those would be the 3 revenue components that we would look at. At a total number of activations or subscriber additions, that would be for growth, and this would be for revenue. And in terms of customer experience, I don't remember what metric we were using at that time because this was a while back. But I would
Yeah.
just say something along the lines of just maintaining customer experience scores. I can't remember what system we were using at that time, but we did have a system. I remember actually secret shop. So there would be people come in and do secret shops, you see. And so just maintaining higher level of experience, so we don't even have to worry about the secret shop.
Yeah.
That was that. These were simpler times. And in terms of operations, again, simpler times. Just making sure that we were following all loss prevention, safety, and security policies. Inventory, cash was being handled expediently in the right way. So our inventory shrink was as little as possible. Our inventory loss basically was as little as possible. Cash loss was little to none. Um, ensuring that all the processes and procedures for in terms of inventory handling are being done correctly. So we are not,
Yeah.
in this case, at a store, we are not getting any, wrong dollar values, wrong loss amounts getting attributed to my location. So making sure
Yeah.
that the returns are processed on time, making sure that inventory is being received on time. There's at no point any cash or any inventory is left in a way where it could create problems, basically, or it could create a loss. So just following those processes really tightly on a daily, weekly basis to make sure that operations are good, and then growth, revenue, customer experience I already shared with you.
Yeah.
And then also, and of course, if I'm working with the same set of, you know, call it, 25, reps and assistant managers on a daily basis, just very directly involved with their scheduling, if they have vacation requests, what to approve and what not to approve, scheduling people the right way, and then making sure that they are communicated with on a regular basis, their touch bases are done on a regular basis,
Hmm.
their coaching sessions are done on a regular basis, to make sure that, there's that element of people satisfaction. And then also, the folks who are open to being developing them as well, so that, that were the daily things for staff management, leadership, and development.
Okay, perfect. And so, any particular strategies that went into improving the store level sales or the traffic to the store? Any particular strategies for that?
Well, I mean, again, it was my strategic and analytical, and I keep coming back to that because that's truly my strength.
Yeah.
strategic and analytical skill set, mindset.
Mm-hmm.
That every location that I went to, every location that I took on, I always gave them something different than the previous manager had given them.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm good with numbers, and because not only I'm good with numbers, some people are good with numbers and then they can't communicate what they want to communicate. I'm good with numbers,
Yeah.
but I can also communicate that. Hey, here's what you really give it to them on a on a very small, palatable, morsel-sized bite, so they can assimilate and they can go from that point, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it literally was, I would come in and I would look at things just differently, and I would immediately be able to see the low-hanging fruit, the opportunities that are being missed, and then really developing, as soon as I get in, really developing strong relationships, so then I can base my influence in those relationships, you see, and then really drive the results with focus based on that, and consistency.
Mm-hmm.
So and then of course the strategy of accountability is always there. It's always there.
Yeah.
Accountability for developing people and recognizing them, and that's all accountability as well. And coaching them regularly and sitting down with them regularly, but also accountability in terms of if they were not performing and I had to performance manage them as a store manager. Of course, I was directly involved with that. I was involved with that
Yeah.
at the district manager level for the entire district, but at the store level, that was my store. I was directly involved with that, right? So those were the strategies that I would use. Just strategic thinking, and analytical mindset, just presenting things in a way that people would understand, basically. And I would, before the results, of course, I would coach people on behaviors, but before the behaviors, that's the level that I would work at. Even before the behaviors, the insights that I would provide them. Hey, this is the reason why we're doing it. This is how we're going to do it. You see,
Yeah.
and this is what we're trying to accomplish. But always starting with the why first. You see, and
Yeah.
that would just give people that insight, that mindset, and that belief. That would help develop that belief, which then would enable them to change their behaviors and tactics a little bit, which then would increase the results.
Yeah. Okay. And so, since you were a retail store manager, that must have involved building relationships with clients as well, because, as a district manager, it might be
Oh yeah,
difficult for you to look into minuscule things, but then as a retail store manager, it must be huge that you have to communicate with customers on a regular basis.
absolutely, absolutely. I had
Mhm.
return clients. I mean, I still
Yeah,
remember the name of the very first customer I ever activated. I'm one of those people
that's
weird with
great.
remembering the
Yeah.
names. Absolutely built great